Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The ancient evil died screaming. Lucas watched through his battle visor as more Econ's corrupted energy shell disintegrated into billions of luminescent particles, each one carrying a fragment of the entity that had devoured worlds for millennia. The void around his battle suit sparkled like diamond dust, beautiful and deadly. Humanity's greatest threat, confirmation required, the AI's clinical voice echoed in his helmet. Target neutralized. Lucas exhaled slowly, his arms still trembling from wielding the quantum lance. Running a full-spectrum analysis, holographic readings danced across his visor as the suit's sensors probed the surrounding space. The battle had taken them to the edge of the Andromeda Arm, far from any inhabited systems. Stars blazed around him in eternal silence. Analysis complete. No trace of target energy signature detected. Mission successful. Those words should have filled him with triumph. Instead, an inexplicable dread crept through his chest. Something felt wrong. Plot fast, he thought, and altered his course to Ardian. He commanded the quantum drive on home coordinates. Ordnance home, he murmured, imagining Kira waiting in her laboratory, her pink hair tied up in that messy bun she wore when deep in research. He pictured her looking up with those otherworldly eyes sparkling with joy, as the journey, which should have taken weeks, was compressed into hours through the quantum corridors. Lucas's battle suit, scorched and dented from the final confrontation, carried him through the familiar approach to Ardian's capital city. The spires of the scientific district gleamed in the setting sun, their crystalline surfaces refracting light in complex patterns. He landed on the private pad of their apartment in the upper levels. The recognition systems hummed, acknowledging his presence. Everything looked exactly as it had been 3 months ago when the final offensive against more Econ began, 2 months exactly. Kira, his voice echoed through empty rooms as the battle suit retracted into its compact form. I'm home. Silence answered. The laboratory, where she conducted her research into dimensional boundaries, was untouched. Her instruments were still arranged in precise patterns. But there was no half-drunk cup of tea, no scattered notes, none of the comfortable chaos that had always surrounded her work. Locate Kira's bio-signature. No matching signatures detected within the residence, the computer announced. Lucas's heart rate spiked. Security footage from the last 24 hours sprang to life on a holographic display, showing Kira in her lab. Her movements were hurried, frantic almost, she kept glancing over her shoulder as she worked with something just out of frame. Then she looked directly at the camera, her expression torn between determination and despair. The recording ended abruptly. Play any remaining messages. A small crystalline artifact on her workbench pulsed with soft light as Lucas approached. Kira's image materialized, not as the standard hologram but something deeper, more resonant. Her form seemed to shift between dimensions, edges blurring into possibility. My love, her voice carried echoes of other voices harmonizing in impossible ways. By the time you receive this, I'll be gone. What you did today was necessary, more Econ had to be stopped. But in destroying it, you've broken something fundamental. The chain of entities that maintains balance between dimensions is shattered. She paused, one hand pressed against her chest as if in pain. I should have told you sooner, but I'm connected to that chain. Part of it lives in me, in our daughter. To protect her, to let her live in your world, I have to go. I have to restore what was broken. There may be a way back. Kira's image flickered. The fragments of the chain still exist, scattered across dimensions. If you can gather them, she stopped, closing her eyes against visible pain. But I won't ask that of you. Our daughter needs you here, she's waiting in the nursery. Take care of her, Lucas. Help her understand both sides of her heritage. The image began to fade. I love you. Remember that, whatever happens, whatever you see or hear. Then, the message cut off. Lucas stood frozen, staring at the space where her image had been. A soft sound from the hallway broke his paralysis, a child's quiet breathing. He turned slowly. There, in the doorway, stood a little girl no more than 3 years old. Her pink hair fell in wispy curls around a face that mirrored her mother's delicate features, but her eyes held galaxies. "Papa," she said, her voice carrying the same harmonic undertones as Kira's message. Lucas knelt, his throat tight. "Luna," he whispered. The nickname they had chosen seemed especially fitting now. Watching starlight shimmer beneath her skin, she approached cautiously, studying him with those impossible eyes. "Mama said you'd come back different." "Different," he murmured gently, though his mind raced. "What else did Mama tell you?" Luna reached out, touching his face with tiny fingers that felt slightly cooler than normal. "You had to fight the dark thing." "They said it would change everything," she replied. Her lower lip trembled as she added, "She had to go away so I could stay." The complexity of emotions on her small face broke something in Lucas's chest. He gathered her into his arms, and she wrapped her arms around his neck. She smelled of ozone and stardust, Kira's scent. "I'm going to fix this," he whispered into her hair. "I promise." Luna pulled back suddenly, her expression turning serious. "The shiny pieces, what do you know about the shiny pieces?" "Mama showed them to me in here." She tapped her chest. "They sing sometimes, but now they're all spread out, crying for each other." Lucas's tactical mind began spinning possibilities. "If Luna could sense the chain fragments, can you tell where they are?" He paused as she shook her head. "Too far, too many places at once." Her face scrunched in concentration. "But, sweetheart, there's a lady who knows things. Mama said if you came back, she'd tell you about the lady with star marks on her skin." Lucas frowned. "Did Mama say where to find this lady?" "Aha, in the place where light goes sideways." Luna yawned suddenly, her eyes drooping. "Papa," she mumbled. He lifted her easily, noting how light she felt, almost as if she were partially ethereal. "Let's get you to bed. We can talk more tomorrow." As he carried her to her room, his mind churned with questions. The place where light goes sideways could only mean one location, the prismatic nebula, where spatial distortions created impossible optical effects. It was also one of the most dangerous regions of space, filled with quantum storms and reality fluctuations. Luna was already half asleep when he laid her in bed. "Papa," she mumbled again. "Are you going to make Mama come back?" He smoothed her pink hair away from her forehead. "I'm going to try, little star. I'm going to try." Once Luna was asleep, Lucas returned to Kira's laboratory. He needed information, needed to understand what she'd been working on before she vanished. The scattered data pads and crystalline computers held fragments of her research, but most of it was encoded in ways he'd never seen before. A computer display showed all recent research queries related to the chain of entities. Holographic screens materialized around him, filled with complex equations and dimensional theories. Much of it was beyond his comprehension. Kira had always been the scientist while he was the warrior. However, certain phrases caught his attention: quantum resonance between realities, harmonic binding of dimensional constants, entity consciousness transfer protocol. A soft chime interrupted his reading. "Incoming transmission from Fleet Command," the computer announced. Lucas grimaced. He'd forgotten about the standard post-mission debrief, audio only. "Commander Drake." Admiral Frid's voice filled the room. "Congratulations on the successful elimination of more Econ. The Council is requesting your immediate presence for a full report request and temporary leave of absence." Lucas replied, still scanning through Kira's notes. "Family emergency," he added. There was a pause. "This is highly irregular." "Commander, the death of an entity-class threat requires immediate," Lucas cut in. "My wife is missing, and I have a 3-year-old daughter who needs me." Another pause followed. "Dr. Drake is missing." "When did this occur?" Lucas asked. Shortly before your return. I'm investigating now, Admiral Frid said, his voice softening slightly. If Dr. Drake has been compromised by her unique heritage, we need to know. Her research into dimensional barriers is classified at the highest levels. Lucas's jaw tightened. What exactly are you implying? Admiral, only that certain elements within the Council have always had concerns about her origins. If her disappearance coincides with more Econ's destruction, choose your next words very carefully, Lucas warned, his hand unconsciously moving to where his quantum lance normally rested. The Admiral sighed. 3 days, Commander. That's all I can give you before this becomes official. Find her or find answers. The transmission ended, leaving Lucas alone with his thoughts and the ghostly glow of Kira's research. He knew what Frid hadn't said, that there were those who had never trusted Kira, who saw her otherworldly nature as a threat rather than a gift, and would accept any excuse to label her a security risk. A small sound drew his attention to the doorway again. Luna stood there in her nightgown, clutching a stuffed animal that seemed to shift colors in the holographic light. Can't sleep? He asked gently. She shook her head. The songs are too loud. She padded into the room, looking at the floating displays. Mama's numbers, can you understand any of it? Luna reached up with her small hand, passing through one of the holographic equations. The symbols seemed to ripple at her touch. It's about the bridges, she said. The ways between here and there. Lucas knelt beside her. What do you mean, little star? He asked softly. She frowned, struggling to explain. It's like when you close your eyes and can still see light through your eyelids. The world's there, but different. Mama said I'm special because I can see both sides at once. A chill ran down Lucas's spine as he remembered Kira saying something similar years ago when they first met. He had been leading a squad investigating dimensional breaches when they found her, a mysterious woman who could walk between realities as easily as stepping through a door. Luna, he said carefully, did Mama tell you anything about where she was going? The little girl's face scrunched up in concentration. She said she had to find the missing pieces, put them back together, but first she had to become more like she used to be before me. Luna's eyes were already closing. The lady with the stars can help, she added in a small, determined voice. She knows the old ways. Lucas carried Luna back to bed, his mind racing with the implications of her words. He had always known there were aspects of Kira's nature she'd never fully explained, parts of herself she had willingly subdued to live in his world, to build a life with him. After tucking Luna in again, he returned to the lab and began preparing for departure. If they were heading to the Prismatic Nebula, they'd need specialized equipment. The quantum storms there could tear a standard ship apart. Computer access specifications for the Shadow Hawk, his personal ship, materialized as a hologram. It was a sleek, dark vessel designed for stealth operations. Lucas would need to modify the shields to handle the nebula's distortions. As he worked, a message notification blinked on his CAL private channel. The heavily encrypted sender ID made him pause. A woman's face appeared on the screen, elegant with intricate patterns of luminescent markings flowing across her skin like constellations. Her eyes held the same otherworldly quality as Kira's, though hers gleamed silver rather than Kira's azure. "Hello, warrior," she said, her voice carrying subtle harmonics. "I believe you're looking for me." Lucas straightened. "The lady with star marks," he said with a slight smile. "You can call me Nell. Your wife spoke of you often during our consultations." "Where is she?" he asked, getting straight to the point. "How very human," Nell replied, her markings pulsing softly. "I cannot tell you where she is, because she exists everywhere and nowhere at once. But I can help you understand why she left and what it might take to bring her back. I'm listening. Not over communications, meet me at the Edge of Light trading station in the Prismatic Nebula. Bring the child, she'll be crucial to what comes next." Her expression grew serious. "And Lucas, be careful whom you trust. The death of more Econ has drawn attention from interested parties. The transmission cut off before he could respond. Lucas spent the next hour modifying the Shadow Hawk's systems and packing essential supplies. He even included some of Kira's research equipment, hoping it might prove useful. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. A quick scan revealed no surveillance devices, but something felt off about the apartment security systems. When he accessed the core programming, he found recent modifications, subtle changes that would allow certain frequencies to pass undetected. Admiral Frid's warning echoed in his mind. How long had they been monitoring Kira? What did they know about Luna's abilities? The decision crystallized: they needed to leave immediately before Fleet Command decided to take a more active interest in his family emergency. He went to wake Luna but found her already dressed and waiting, her small travel bag packed. "We have to go now," she said, clutching her color-changing stuffed animal. "The bad people are coming." As if confirming her words, proximity alerts began blaring, multiple vehicles approaching with military signatures. "Time to go, little star," Lucas said as he scooped her up and headed for the Shadow Hawk docking bay. "Want to see where Mama used to explore?" Luna nodded against his shoulder. Behind them, the sound of bootsteps echoed through the apartment corridors. They reached the ship just as the first breach charges detonated at the apartment's main entrance. Lucas sealed the airlock and activated the launch sequence while Luna strapped herself into the co-pilot seat, surprisingly calm despite the chaos. "Hold tight," he warned, as the engines powered up. "This might get bumpy." The Shadow Hawk detached from the docking clamps just as armed figures burst into the bay. Lucas recognized the insignia on their armor. Special Operations Fleet Command's elite hunters, Commander Drake. "Power down your engines immediately," a voice commanded over the comm. "This is a Class 1 security operation." Lucas switched to secure channels. "Computer, initiate Ghost Protocol." The Shadow Hawk stealth systems engaged, wrapping the ship in layers of quantum distortion so that outside sensors would see only dozens of phantom signals. Luna giggled. "They look funny when they're confused," she remarked. Through the viewport, Lucas watched as the Special Ops team scrambled to track their multiple signatures. He plotted a course straight up toward the orbital defense grid. "Command, the target is attempting to breach Planetary Defense Perimeter 1, one of the pursuers reported, requesting authorization." Lucas cut the comm and pushed the engines to maximum. The Shadow Hawk shot through Ardian's atmosphere like a dark arrow trailing phantom images behind it. "Papa, are we in trouble?" Luna asked in a quiet voice. "No, little star, we're just playing hide and seek," he managed a reassuring smile. "We're very good at hiding." The orbital defense platforms locked onto them as they approached, but Luna reached out and touched the control panel. Suddenly, the targeting system went haywire, their signals scattering like startled birds. "The machines like me," she explained proudly, "they burst through the defense grid and into open space." Multiple military vessels moved to intercept, but Lucas had already plotted their quantum jump coordinates. "Ready for a long trip?" he asked. Luna nodded, hugging her stuffed animal. "To find the lady with stars," she said. "That's right. And then we'll find Mama." The quantum drive engaged, folding space around them. Ardian and its pursuit ships vanished as the Shadow Hawk leaped into the void between stars. Lucas set the autopilot and turned to his daughter in the quantum streams of light. Her skin shimmered with the same ethereal quality as Kira's, and she looked back at him with eyes full of questions. "What happens now?" she asked. Lucas thought of Kira's message, of Nell's warning, of the forces aligning against them. "We become explorers, like Mama. There are pieces of her out there, scattered across space. We're going to find them all and bring her home." Luna smiled, and for a moment he saw stars dancing in her eyes. "I can hear them singing already," she whispered. "They're waiting for us." The Shadow Hawk surged forward through quantum space, carrying them toward the prismatic heart of the nebula, where light bent in impossible ways and reality itself grew thin, toward answers, toward Kira, toward whatever destiny awaited them among the shattered pieces of existence. The edge of light trading station hung in the prismatic void like a tarnished coin caught in a soap bubble. Quantum distortions warped space around it, creating sheets of iridescent light that shifted and flowed like an aurora. "Pretty, Luna," she whispered, pressing her small hands against the Shadow Hawk's viewport. The station's reflection danced in her galaxy-filled eyes. Lucas studied the approach vectors, frowning at the sensor readings. "Too pretty. Those light sheets are quantum storms, one wrong move and we'll be scattered across dimensions." "We won't be," Luna replied confidently. "The storms are singing to me, they'll let us through." Before Lucas could respond, the ship's cow crackled with a familiar, harmonious voice, "Welcome, travelers. I've cleared a safe path for you. Follow the res." A signal appeared on their navigation display, a pulsing thread of quantum energy weaving between the storms. "Near IEL," Lucas asked, even as he guided the ship toward the indicated route, who else could tame the chaos of the edge? There is amusement in her voice, Luna said. "Dock at Bay 7 and hurry, you weren't followed here, but that won't last long." The path through the quantum storms proved true. Though Lucas's hands were tight on the controls, he recalled how he'd seen ships torn apart by these distortions during the war with more econ. The entity had used the prismatic nebula as a hunting ground, corrupting the natural quantum flows to shred anything that entered its domain. "Papa," Luna's voice pulled him from the dark memory, "why are you scared?" "I'm not," he started to deny it, then remembered how pointless lying to her would be. "This place holds bad memories, little star, the thing I fought, more econ, did terrible things here." "I know," she replied softly, gazing out at the swirling lights. "Sometimes, they show me in my dreams, the hungry dark that ate the stars." Lucas glanced sharply at his daughter. "What else do they show you?" But Luna had already moved on, distracted by their approach to Bay 7. The docking arm extended to meet them, its surface covered in the same strange markings that had adorned Nell's skin in the transmission. As soon as they landed, Luna unstrapped herself and ran to the airlock, practically bouncing with excitement. "Careful," Lucas warned as he checked his sidearm before following. "We don't know if we can trust the airlock," he muttered. The cycle completed, and before he could finish, Nell stood waiting. Lucas's words died in his throat. The hologram hadn't done her justice, her body seemed to shift between states of matter. The stellar markings on her skin flowed like liquid starlight. She wore a close-fitting suit that left little to the imagination, cut from a material that resembled the quantum storms themselves. "Trust is such a human concept," she said, her silver eyes twinkling, especially coming from a man who had just gone rogue from his own military. Before Lucas could stop her, Luna darted forward, reaching for Nell's glowing markings. To his surprise, the mysterious woman knelt to meet her, allowing the child to trace the constellation patterns on her arm. "Hello, little bridge walker," Nell said softly. "You've grown since I last saw you," she added, her tone warm. Lucas tensed. "You've met before, in dreams, perhaps, or in possible futures." Nell maintained one hand linked with Luna. "Your wife consulted with me often about the child's unique heritage," she explained. "Speaking of which," she glanced over her shoulder, "we should continue this conversation somewhere more private. The station has eyes everywhere, and not all of them are friendly to dimensional anomalies." She led them through a maze of corridors, each seeming to bend reality slightly differently than the last. Luna skipped along, completely unfazed by the spatial distortions that made Lucas's head ache. They emerged into what appeared to be a private lounge, though the walls kept shifting between different materials and colors. Nell gestured for them to sit. "First," she said, producing a small crystal from thin air, "let me show you what really happened when you destroyed more econ." The crystal projected a complex geometric pattern into the air. Lucas recognized it as a quantum frequency diagram, similar to the ones Kira used in her research. "The entity you knew as more econ wasn't just eating worlds," Nell explained. It was consuming dimensional frequency nodes, the anchor points that keep reality stable. The chain of entities exists to maintain these nodes, to prevent bleeding between worlds, and Kira was part of this chain. Lucas asked, "Is part of it present?" Nell's markings pulsed. "When she chose to live in your dimension, to love you, to bear your child, she didn't abandon her role, she merely changed how she fulfilled it." Luna, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Mama was the bridge, like me, exactly." Nell smiled at the child. But when more econ was destroyed, it released all the corrupted frequency nodes at once. The chain shattered, and your mother, she paused, looking directly at Lucas. She had to return to her original form to prevent total dimensional collapse. Original form, warm. Lucas's voice was tight. Nell's smile turned sympathetic. "The woman you fell in love with was real, Lucas, but she was also a translation, a way for a multidimensional being to exist in your limited spacetime. The implications hit you like a physical blow. How many hints had you missed? How many times had Kira tried to explain her nature, only for you to dismiss it because it didn't fit your understanding of reality? Can she come back?" Lucas asked quietly. "That depends." Nell moved closer, her stellar markings brightening. "Are you willing to expand your definition of back, to accept that the woman you knew might return differently?" Before Lucas could respond, Luna gasped. Her eyes were completely starlit, the galaxies within them spinning faster. "They're coming," she whispered. "The bad lights." Nell moved with startling speed. Her form blurred as she reached the room's control panel. "Fleet Command found us sooner than expected. They must have tracked your quantum signature through the storms." "Impossible, Lucas," she argued. "The Shadowhawk stealth systems are based on technology your wife helped develop," Lucas protested. "Technology they've been studying very carefully, since they suspected her true nature," Nell cut him off. "Security alerts are blaring throughout the station." Through the shifting walls, Lucas could see special ops ships emerging from quantum space, their weapons already charging. "We need to go," Lucas said, reaching for Luna. Nell caught his arm. "No, they'll expect that. You need to face this confrontation now, or you'll never stop running." "Luna," she tugged at his sleeve, "the lady with stars is right, the songs say we have to stay." A comm channel opened, broadcasting throughout the station. Admiral Frid's voice filled the space. "Commander Drake, this is your final warning, surrender yourself and the child." Yar. Drake has been classified as a Class 1 dimensional threat. Her offspring must be contained. Lucas felt something dark unfurl in his chest, a rage he hadn't experienced since his early days hunting more econ. "Contained," he growled, "control yourself. Anger will only." Nell warned, but the station shuddered as the first weapons impacted its shields. Luna screamed, clutching her head, as every quantum-based system in the vicinity went haywire. The walls froze in crystalline patterns that reflected the chaos outside. "They're hurting the songs," Luna cried. "Make them stop." Nell's markings, Lucas said, flared like supernovas. "Lucas, your daughter is actively interfacing with the quantum field. If she loses control." Another blast rocked the station. Luna's eyes blazed brighter as reality itself seemed to ripple around her small form. Objects began floating, caught in localized gravity distortions. "Little star," Lucas knelt before her, forcing his voice to remain calm. "Look at me. Focus on my voice, it's too loud." She whimpered, "The songs are screaming." "Then change their tune," Nell suggested, her own form starting to blur at the edges. "Show them a better way to sing." Luna's face scrunched in concentration. The floating objects began moving in precise patterns, forming a complex dance that mirrored the quantum storms outside. Through the viewport, Lucas watched in amazement as the special ops ship's weapon systems suddenly powered down. "What's happening?" Admiral Frid demanded over the comm report. "Weapon systems aren't responding, sir, a panicked voice replied. All quantum-based systems are being rewritten somehow, Nell laughed, a sound like chimes in a quantum storm. Your daughter isn't just interfacing with the field, Lucas, she's conducting it like a symphony. The special ops ships hung powerless, caught in Luna's improvised quantum dance. Yet Lucas could see the strain on her small face, sweat beading on her forehead. She can't hold this long, he said. She doesn't need to, Nell explained. Her form shifted, becoming more ethereal. She's created a window for us. Now, we show them exactly what they're dealing with. The stellar markings on her skin blazed like captive stars. Reality bent around her as she stepped toward the viewport. Her voice, resonating with harmonic qualities reminiscent of Kira's final message, filled every Cal system. Admiral Frid, she spoke, her words echoing across the station, you seek to contain what you do not understand. But look closely at what your weapons face. The quantum storms around the station began moving in new patterns, forming images. Lucas watched as scenes from his battles with more econ played out in prismatic light, from perspectives he had never seen. He saw the entity as it truly was, a void that consumed dimensional frequencies, leaving reality unraveled in its wake. Then the scenes shifted, showing Kira not as he had known her, but in her true form, a being of pure quantum resonance, holding reality together at its seams. The images showed her choosing to become more econ, to embrace humanity, to love him, and to create something entirely new in Luna, the child you seek to contain. Nell continued, she is not a threat, she is evolution, the next step in the chain's adaptation to a changing cosmos. Luna, who had been unusually quiet, spoke again, Mama, I know. Nell smiled at her. Your parents' love created something unprecedented, a perfect fusion of active and dormant entity nature. That's why the chain shattered when more econ died. It wasn't just the release of corrupted nodes, it was your father's dormant power awakening in that moment of victory. Lucas set Luna down gently, his mind reeling. All this time, I've been hunting my own kind. His voice was quiet, full of realization. Not quite. Nell's expression darkened. More econ is what happens when an entity rejects the chain and chooses to consume rather than maintain it. You were hidden away as a failsafe, a weapon of last resort, but Kira saw another possibility. She waved her hand, and the station's shifting walls revealed new images, Kira in her true form, weaving quantum frequencies into complex patterns, each with a bright point of light that looked eerily familiar. This, Nell explained, is the last fragment of the chain, the one that can restore balance. But using it requires both sides of the equation, active and dormant entity power combined. Using it would wake me up completely. Lucas realized, turn me into something like Kira. Better, Luna tugged at his hand. You'd be you, but more. Like when I see both sides at once. Nell nodded. The child understands, this isn't about losing your humanity, Lucas. It's about embracing your complete nature. She hesitated. But there's a price. Lucas guessed, there's always a price. Nell's markings dimmed. Awakening your true form will create a quantum cascade. Every piece of technology you've ever interfaced with, every system you've touched during your military career, will have to be recalibrated. The fleet will be defenseless for hours, and the Council's 24-hour deadline expires in exactly that window. Nell's smile turned predatory, almost as if someone had planned it that way. Luna's eyes widened. Mama's clever. A new alarm blared through the station. The quantum storms outside are intensifying, creating patterns I recognized from my final battle with more econ. We're out of time for contemplation. Nell announced, the dimensional damage is spreading. Without the chain restored, reality will start unraveling. Choose now, Lucas Drake, remain as you are and watch existence tear itself apart, or embrace your true nature and risk everything you fought to protect. Lucas looked at Luna, seeing both his daughter and something far more ancient in her starlit eyes. What do you think, little star? He asked. She took his hand again, and this time he felt something resonating between them, a quantum harmony he had always dismissed as battle intuition or parental connection. "The songs want to be whole again," she said simply, "like our family." Through the viewport, Lucas watched as reality fractured along quantum fault lines. The station shields barely held against the dimensional stress. In the distance, he could see fleet ships approaching, probably monitoring for signs of his surrender. "How do we do this?" he asked Nell. Her form began to shift, becoming more energy than matter. "We need to access the fragment, and for that, we need your daughter's unique abilities." Luna stepped forward confidently, her pink hair beginning to float in an invisible quantum breeze. "I can feel it," she said. "It's like Mama's lullaby, but bigger." The walls of the station became transparent, revealing the true nature of the quantum storm surrounding them. What had appeared as chaotic energy was actually an intricate dance of dimensional frequencies, all spiraling toward a central point of impossible darkness, the void more econ left behind. Near IEL explained, "The fragment is hidden there, where reality is thinnest," Nell said. Lucas felt something stir inside him, an ancient recognition of patterns he had never consciously understood. "Those energy signatures," he murmured, "they're like the ones from my quantum lance. Your weapons were always an expression of your true nature." Nell confirmed, "Now, reach out with that same instinct. But don't try to destroy, try to harmonize." Luna took both of their hands, forming a triangle of energy. "Listen to the songs with me, Papa." The quantum resonance between them grew stronger through their connection. Lucas began to perceive reality as Luna did, layers upon layers of dimensional frequencies, all singing their unique songs. The void at the center of the storms wasn't empty at all, but rather a complex knot of discordant melodies. "Kira," he called out, knowing somehow she would hear. "We're ready." The quantum storms erupted with new energy as Kira's presence filled the space. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "Remember when we first met, my love? How you said humans would never understand entities like me?" "I was wrong," Lucas replied, feeling his dormant power responding to her presence. "I just didn't know I was talking about myself." The void pulsed, and Lucas felt Kira's amusement. "You're still so human, even now. That's what I love about you." Luna squeezed his hand tighter. "Mama's coming." Reality bent around them as Kira emerged from the quantum storms. Her true form was a breathtaking fusion of energy and matter. The pink hair Lucas had fallen in love with now flowed like a river of stars, her body simultaneously solid and ethereal. She extended her hand. In her palm floated a crystal that seemed to contain entire universes, the final piece of the chain and the key to your awakening. Fleet ships appeared at the edge of the quantum storm, their weapons charging. Admiral Frid's voice crackled through the chaos, "Dr. Drake, Commander, this is your final warning." "Luna," Papa whispered, "the songs are ready." Lucas looked at his daughter, at Nell's knowing smile, and at Kira's radiant form. Everything he'd fought for, everything he'd believed about himself, had led to this moment. "How do we begin?" he asked. Kira floated closer. "Press the crystal to your chest," she instructed. As she did so, the universe exploded behind his eyes. Lucas felt his consciousness expanding, breaking free of human limitations. The quantum frequencies, the songs, became visible, tangible things he could shape with a thought. His body dissolved into pure energy, then reformed as something more. He could see every dimension simultaneously, feel the delicate threads of reality that needed maintaining. Most importantly, he could see Kira and Luna as they truly were, beings of pure quantum resonance, their love for him shining like beacons across all dimensions. The fleet ships fired, but the blast froze in midair, caught in the quantum symphony that Luna was conducting. Reality rippled as the chain began reforming, with the Drake family at its heart. "Balance is restored," Nell announced, her own form shifting to reveal her place in the chain, different now, better. Luna danced through the quantum storms, her joy manifesting as bursts of dimensional energy. "We're all shiny now," she said, and the attacking ships retreated, their weapons useless against beings who could reshape reality itself. Admiral Frid's final transmission was cut short as Kira sealed the dimensional breach with a gesture. "What happens now?" Lucas asked, marveling at how his voice created patterns in the quantum field. Kira's laugh echoed across dimensions. "Now, we have eternity to explore together. There are so many realities I want to show you both. Can we visit the singing stars?" Luna, swirling around her parents in excitement, asked, "And the rainbow nebulas, and the space between spaces, all of them?" Lucas promised, "We'll see everything." Epilogue. Legend spread across the galaxies of the Drake family, the warriors who became gods, the guardians who danced between dimensions. Some said they appeared during quantum storms to help lost ships find their way, others claimed they could be summoned by children's dreams, arriving in forms of pure starlight to grant impossible wishes. But those who knew the truth, who had witnessed their transformation, understood that they were something far more important, a family that had transcended the boundaries of existence itself, proving that love could bridge any distance, heal any breach, and make the impossible possible. Years later, at a small observation outpost near the edge of Light Station, a young cadet stared in wonder at the quantum storms. The prismatic lights danced in patterns that scientists still couldn't explain, creating images that seemed almost alive. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Nell materialized beside him, her stellar markings dimmer now but still mesmerizing. The cadet jumped. "Lady Nell, I didn't expect to see you," he said. She smiled. "Relax, Marcus. I'm just here for the show." As if in response, the quantum storms shifted. 3 figures emerged from the prismatic light, a man, a woman with flowing pink hair, and a young girl who seemed to dance between dimensions. The Drake family had returned for their annual visit to the place where everything changed. Luna, now appearing as a teenager, though time meant little to beings like them, spun through the quantum field, creating intricate patterns of reality. Her laughter echoed across dimensions, making the very fabric of space-time ripple with joy. "They've been busy," Nell commented, stabilizing quantum rifts to prevent dimensional collapses, inspiring new generations of explorers. "Is it true?" Marcus asked. "The stories about them helping lost ships?" "Oh, those are just the beginning of what they do," Nell's eyes twinkled. "They're teaching the universe a new way to exist, one where boundaries between dimensions aren't barriers, but bridges." Outside, Kira and Lucas moved in perfect synchrony, their quantum forms intertwining as they wove new patterns into reality. Their love had become part of the fundamental forces that held existence together. Luna noticed their audience and waved, causing small quantum orbs to spiral from her fingertips. Marcus waved back, then watched in amazement as the family disappeared into the prismatic void, leaving behind a shower of stellar light that would fuel scientific debates for decades to come. "Will we see them again?" he asked. Nell's form began to fade. "Look for them in the quantum storms, in the spaces between stars, in the moments when reality holds its breath, and in the stories that echo across every dimension, reminding us that some loves transcend the very laws of existence." She vanished, leaving Marcus alone with the dancing lights and a head full of wonder. The quantum storms continued their eternal dance, singing songs of a family that had become legend. And somewhere in the infinite cosmos, 3 beings of pure light spiraled through dimensions, their joy creating new constellations and their love strengthening the very fabric of reality itself. Dear listener, if you've made it this far without getting quantum entangled or accidentally becoming an interdimensional entity yourself, congratulations. Though if you did become an entity, please file the appropriate paperwork with the Dimensional Affairs Office. They're still salty about that incident with Doctor Who's TARDIS showing up at the wrong multiversal wedding. And yes, before you ask, pink hair does indeed grant special powers in this universe. We checked with Sailor Moon, she confirmed it's a thing. For those wondering if love really can transcend dimensional barriers, well, if Han Solo could make the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs for a princess, I think we can allow Lucas to break a few laws of physics for Kira. Just remember, If you ever find yourself falling for someone with starlight in their eyes and quantum harmonics in their laugh, make sure to check if you're secretly an ancient cosmic entity first. It saves a lot of awkward conversations at family dinners. Keep watching the quantum storms. Your friendly neighborhood reality weaver. P.S. No prismatic nebulas were harmed in the making of this story, they just got a bit ruffled.